Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Vader 400, and of course the brown skin human coming back at you with another movie series review intro. My previous movie series review intro, whenever I uploaded to YouTube, for some odd reason, the newest, the Crush 40 upload of Sonic What I'm Made Of, their uploaded version for some odd reason has a copyright on it, and whenever I see, and the copyright is actually not a problem according to YouTube, but if I ever want to set this account up for monetization, it will be a problem. So I'm going to do a remade version using two non-copyrighted songs. Even though this is an intro for movie reviews and rants, the What I'm Made Of will from now on this channel will only be the outro, and I'll use one of the old school non-copyrighted uploads of Sonic What I'm Made Of. The intros will feature the Sonic Heroes theme, which I haven't used in a long time, and of course the iconic We Can that I use a lot now. Everywhere on every other platform, the intros, I will use the old intro. So with that being said, let's get started right now. Hey everybody, it's now time for my late out-of-date part 2 webcam, off-camera webcam version of Street Fighter Alpha, the animation. My all-time favorite and best Street Fighter anime film, and one of my all-time favorites and best in the Street Fighter franchise, period. I thought this film has a mixed to negative reception. Some like it, some don't. Some like it, some don't. I consider this to be one of the best Street Fighter films and adaptations of all time, and one of the best Street Fighter adaptations outside of the video game, alongside its Saturday morning cartoon and its various comic books produced by Udon. Comic books and manga produced by Udon are the best of the Street Fighter franchise outside of its quote-unquote comic book. I thought this was vastly superior to the anime film. One of the main reasons I think that is because this is based upon the Alpha timeline, the Street Fighter Alpha, Third Strike era, and the SNK Cross Tekken and Cross Tekken and 4 periods are my number one favorite time periods of Street Fighter, quote unquote Street Fighter. These are my all-time favorite periods. Story, when it comes to storyline, gameplay, characters. These are my all-time favorite time periods of Street Fighter, and some of my all-time favorite and best Street Fighter video games. I like the era when the Street Fighters were younger and were at their quote unquote strongest, and love how Street Fighter Alpha followed Street Fighter 1 and segged right into Street Fighter 2, 4, and 3. Street Fighter 2, 4, and 3, and now quote unquote 5, which is a prequel to 3 and a sequel to 4. And 4, even though it's called 4, is a sequel to Street Fighter 2. Is the sequel to Street Fighter. Street Fighter is the sequel to Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2. So yeah. And despite some changes, when I saw this as a teenager, this for the most part felt completely accurate to the games, despite a couple of changes, including it was weird how we had this Sattler and this original character Shun created in the film as the major antagonist, instead of Bison himself running Shadaloo, instead of Bison himself running quote unquote Shadaloo. But other than that, this film is pretty much based on Street Fighter Alpha and Alpha 2, because it's set after Ryu's defeat of Sagat is mentioned in the film. Even though Sagat has no appearance in this film, his defeat is mentioned, and Guy is here, but Cody isn't. I remember Guy being in Alpha 2, but he wasn't. But Cody isn't here, which means the events of Alpha 3 haven't happened yet. So this is a prequel to Alpha. This is a prequel to quote unquote Alpha. Alpha. The Street Fighter characters who do appear is pretty much the Alpha 1 and 2 cast. Ryu, Dan, Chun-Li, Ken, Sakura's friend, who else? Rolling Toad, Saddam, Eden, Birdie has his largest role in the Street Fighter, largest role in the Street Fighter media to date in this film. Birdie, and of course, Vega and Guy and Rose and quote unquote Rose, and Akuma has a small role too, and so does Zangief. That's pretty much the entire Street Fighter Alpha 1 and 2 cast, with only Sagat, quote unquote Sagat and Charlie missing. So yeah, great adaptation of Street Fighter. Love the updated 2000s updated 2000s anime cartoon style graphics, and the cool hand-to-hand anime style action mixed with a little bit of realism. Yeah, Street Fighter Alpha, the animation, Street Fighter Alpha, the quote-unquote animation. While being true to the game, this features an original plot, kinda separate from the game. While it features the Street Fighter tournament from the game, that's another thing I like. The iconic the iconic Street Fighter 2, the iconic International Street Fighting Tournament was featured this. It was missing in the first one. It was missing in the first one. It was missing in the first one. The closest we got to that was the Zangief and Honda battle, but it was featured here. It was featured here. It was a main plot point. But other than that, this features mostly an original plot, separate from the quote unquote This features an original plot separate from the quote unquote This features an original plot separate from the video game, as it features a little boy named Shun coming out of nowhere to tell Ryu, coming to Ryu's temple, where Master Goku is, to tell Ryu that tell Ryu that he's his brother, got a little boy named Shun, which leads to a lot of comical moments between him and Kim. Kim and Ken does not believe him and keeps teasing him about it. Keeps quote unquote teasing him about it, forcing Ryu to comically play the adult in this quote unquote situation. Later, he tells them a story about what happened to their mom, and convinces Ryu to enter the quote unquote martial arts tournament. Ryu is reluctant to Ken and Chun-Li enter. Ryu is also dealing with the Sengatsu no Hado and sees Rose, encounters and sees Rose just like in the game, except they don't have a fight scene in this really, but he encounters Rose, and he also encounters Akuma, who tries to convince him to give in to the dark evil Ryu power, the Satsu no Hado power, tries to get him to but Ryu refuses, even telling Ken that if he does succumb to this power to kill him, but Ken hopes that it won't come to that. At the tournament, Ken meets Sakura, who's looking for quote unquote Ryu, the game the Chibi Street Fighter game's Pocket Fighters makes a cameo with Sakura playing it. When they get to the tournament, when they get to the first part of the tournament, Shun battles Zangief, who in this version, Zangief is ruthless and sadistic, willing to beat up and torture a quote unquote kid. Ryu quote unquote comes to Shun's aid, and after Zangief is defeated, Zangief is shot and then comically falls off a cliff into a hole and is never seen again. That's probably one thing I don't like, was the treatment of Zangief. The treatment of Zangief gets in these adaptations. Surprisingly, when I look at Zangief's role outside of the video games, only the comic books and the Jean-Claude Van Damme film is the only one to ever do Zangief justice. But at the same time, Zangief is not one of the top he's not one of the lead characters. He's a supporting character, so it's what it is. It's quote unquote what it is, but that's probably the only problem I have with this movie. That, and once again, just like with Street Fighter 2, the anime film, there was never anything after this film. There was never anything after. They later made another crappy Alpha movie called Alpha Generations, where Ryu actually fights Akuma, but that has nothing to do with this. It's barely a Street Fighter film. None of the Street Fighters show up. None of the Street Fighters, none of the quote-unquote other Street Fighters show up. So, Yeah, but other than that, great. This was a great. This was still a great film. Later, best parts of the films when we get to the tournament, when the other characters are introduced. Aiden, Saddam, Rolling Toe, Guy, Rose, Dan, Birdie, and Vega, where I mentioned Saddam and Aiden, they're comically arguing with each other on the plane, and Saddam is this goofy, eccentric man who just poses and says random things. It's hilarious. And then when they land the plane, he does some pose with the Japanese music playing and says, "Do it again," something like that. And then you got Birdie, who in the video game is one of the biggest jobbers and one of the biggest losers enhancement talents ever. It's just a generic henchman in Street Fighter, and a punk in the video games. Here, he's actually a main character role and in a more heroic role. His biggest and most important role to this day, outside of the comic books, is this movie right here, Alpha movie. All of the Street Fighters are ambushed and kidnapped by the leader of the group, Sattler, and put in a prison cell somewhere, except for Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, except for Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li. I think Chun-Li was put in too. I think Ken helped her quote unquote escape, and Ryu and Ken fight the Sattler being who Sattler, he's actually a cooler boss than Bison. Fight the Sattler being who quote unquote reminds me of Cell. Cell is like a prototype to Seth because he uses the abilities. He absorbs and uses the abilities of the Street Fighters. After a long hard battle, with the King's assistance, Ryu kills Sattler with a huge Hadouken. Before that, Shun reveals that the whole brother thing was a ruse and that he was hired by Shadaloo to pretend to be Ryu's brother to lure him to the tournament site here, and he bonds with the Sattler. After Ryu kills Sattler, Shun and Ryu reconcile, and Shun dies peacefully. Shun quote unquote dies peacefully, and each Street Fighter goes his or her separate ways, and the film ends with Ryu quote unquote about to fight Ryu squaring off with Akuma as the film ends. Like I said, I hate that they never adapted the sequel, Street Fighter Alpha 3, where Bison, I was ready for that, where Bison, he will come in and take control of Shadaloo, and reveal that Sattler must have been a puppet or something, and then hosting a new international Street Fighter tournament, continues his search for Ryu, and have all the storylines from Street Fighter Alpha 3 play out, including Cody, one of my favorites, Cody, being jailed for his being framed in jail for his crimes. Aiden's search for the mysterious warrior Akuma's Dan's feud with Sagat, and journey to promote his Sakio style, and every other cool storyline that was a part of Alpha 3, and the Ryu brainwashing storyline. Since we saw Kid in the anime movie have the Ryu brainwashing one here, so yeah, Matt, we never saw that. They never made any form of sequel after this, but this right here is one of the greatest Street Fighters ever. This was late because I was working on a tie-in review, and I'm still working on it, but it'll be sometime in the future, and that's reviewing this movie with all three alpha video games. I don't feel like recording video game or television footage right now, so that's why I put it on hold. Put it on quote unquote hold, and just decided to get two normal reviews out first. Normal reviews of my brand new style. But yeah, Street Fighter Alpha the movie, one of my all-time favorite anime films, one of my all-time favorite films, and one of my all-time favorite films period, and one of the best video game movies of all time. one of the best video game based film, in my opinion, the best Street Fighter. The best Street Fighter is this movie, this best movie right here. Saw this in 2003, 3 to 4 years after it was released, and been a huge fan ever since. One of the greatest animes and one of the greatest works in animes. Well done, Capcom. Well done, Capcom. So yeah, you don't want to hear the rest of the music. You want the rest of the music. You want to hear the rest of the music. You want the rest of the music. You want the rest of the music. Turn the video off right now.